Okay, hey, last bit here on natural selection and evolution. All right, today we're going to talk about how evolution unifies the tree of life and a little bit about our own natural history as human beings, kind of where the puzzle pieces fall into place for us here. So, anyway, we've been talking about this evolution deal. It is a core essential to biology. Okay, so it's what connects essentially, it's a good unit to end on because it essentially is connecting everything that we've done in class so far. All right. It is the cornerstone of how our cell biology connects with our genetics, with this, with that. And so evolution is what ties everything together. So using fossil and DNA evidence, we can see where species have branched off from others. All right. So it's not that they came from one particular species, but their paths diverged however many years ago. Darwin was onto that idea. There's a sketch of his that he had, the idea that, hey, there's some kind of, by point D over here, there's some kind of ancestral finch that eventually branched off into three different species of finches there. Here's a little bit more robust um, evolutionary tree with what we have today. I like looking at this because the core, the center, is 4 billion years ago, roughly when life kind of first evidences it first kind of showed up, and then how it's branched and changed from there. And then each layer out is a more recent species as they're going. Here's another look at the tree of life, but it's a little bit more weighted to show number of species and individuals. This one's a very interesting looking one. This whole top part are all single cell organisms. All right, we don't like to think, and the eukaryotes are down here. We don't always think about bacteria and all those things as evolving, but they've changed maybe more so than anything else has over time. All right, so the huge classes of archaea and bacteria up there. And then what it relates to as far as human beings. All right. Here's another look at a different kind of family tree. We call this a cladogram. It shows a little bit more quantitatively where things have branched apart from. So here is the cladogram of primates. We start toward the bottom here at this origin. That's back in time. So that's the oldest. So this would be the ancestor of all primates. Note that when that branch occurs, that thing, it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, it's not like it's running around giving birth to new primate species. It's just genetics took a turn at that point, and one family left and changed on its own. Another family kept going, much like the family history trees that we worked on, and then we see all of the primates over the top, or a lot of the primates at the top. The closer they are together, that means that their split happened later in evolutionary history. So you see humans, we split apart from the apes long after we split apart from the lemurs. We don't have that much in common with lemurs, all right, versus the apes. So that leaves us to what is our background? All right. Now you've seen an image like this before. I don't like this image. It's wrong. All right. It shows like here's clearly a chimpanzee. Like the chimpanzee stands like halfway up, and then it stands all the way up, and then it's walking with a stick, and then it's just walking. Um, that's not correct. It wasn't a direct path from chimpanzee to man. In fact, chimpanzees were never on our path. They are our distant cousins. Okay, you are not descendant from your cousin. You are just related to them. And then it would show a lot more branches of died or dead species and things that didn't make it and changes and all that. So don't like this picture because it's not very accurate as to what happened there. A couple videos in there about our closest living relative, the chimpanzee. While they might not look extremely human or that related to us, they do have mouths and noses and eyes and ears and hands. And the thing that they have that we take for granted is they're extremely intelligent. All right, they have a very a comparable mental capacity as humans. Now, are you smarter than a chimpanzee? Absolutely, you are. Okay, that 2% DNA that makes you different from chimpanzees is a huge 2%. Okay, chimpanzees aren't doing calculus, they're not, building a space program, that kind of thing. But there is brain power there that we would recognize as human at certain times. So just a couple videos there kind of illustrating that. If you're interested, that's worth checking out on your own there. So, hey, where did we branch from? The most recent common ancestor that we found is Toumai up there in the upper right. And this is something that when I was in school, we learned about a different common ancestor, Lucy. Since then, we found an older fossil. And so who knows what fossils we'll find, 20 years from now and what we'll know then. But yeah, the thing up in the right, that's an artist rendition. Boy, it looks a lot more chimpanzee than it does human. Why do we think that this is the most recent common ancestor? This is the first chimpanzee that stood upright. Shouldn't say chimpanzee. Take that back. This is the first primate that stood upright. All right, when they found its skull, its spinal cord exited from the bottom of its skull, just like human beings do, versus chimpanzees and other primates, there's exits from behind. And so having your spine exit from the bottom of your skull means that you're upright. And so this would be the first primate that we've found so far, the oldest primate that we've found that has stood on two legs. And so that's kind of the point where like, is that the exact point that we branched off from the other primates? Probably not, but it's right around that area. It is right in that general vicinity of our evolutionary timeline. That's about 6 to 7 million years ago is what they date that at. So about 6.5 million years ago, we split off from the rest of the primates, and obviously we've been changing ever since. Here's a look at all those transitionary skulls. I like the look of this. If you look at the upper left, that's a modern chimpanzee skull. Bottom right's a modern human skull. And then these are all the skulls that we found that are somewhere in between the two. Okay, so they're branches on that tree of life, extinct branches, things that don't exist anymore, but showing that, well, here's, primates and human beings and all that stuff. And there's a lot of things that came in between those two phases where we're currently at today. The latest humanoid like species that has died out of the Neanderthals. Well, maybe you've heard of them before. Neanderthals they actually live side by side with modern humans. And there's evidence that they actually mated with modern humans. So maybe they're more of a subspecies of humans. Interesting things about them, they had more muscle than humans do. And so they actually had bigger brains because they had to control that muscle as they're going. They did not survive. Gosh, I thought I knew. I can't remember exactly why that is. But one thing I'm sharing is that these would have died out, I think, roughly about 20 to 30,000 years ago. And there's some strong evidence that they maybe had a religion, right? And not like a religion, like they weren't reading a religious book or going to church on Sundays or that kind of thing. But they had burials of their dead, and that there's evidence that they would have placed flowers and little remembrance things alongside the dead. So some kind of a acknowledgement of an afterlife, so to speak, there. So interesting. That's always an interesting thought that I've had there. Another video, just a good one that goes into kind of like how do we know some of the things that we know there. And that is good. All right. I need to point this out. Where was this going on is important. The plains of Africa. Okay, so if you look back here, all right, in kind of central or eastern Africa, that's where all the evidence points to that human primates and human beings originated from. And from there, they've been traveling the earth. And obviously now that we have we've established permanent residence in all spots of the earth, but originally the first human beings evolved and lived in Africa, and from there over the last 100,000 years they've traveled the world and have established themselves in other places. So there we go, a little bit of a tree of life. And that's not what I want. That's fine. Yeah, a little bit of tree of life stuff and human origins. Today's our last day of notes, actually, for the entire class. Yeah, we'll end it there. Small assignment today and then use your time to get ready for the test on Friday and the final next week. Make sure you're getting all that missing work turned in, and I will be grading that pretty much at the end of the semester. Okay, there's a lot of missing work that's rolling in, and so it's hard to keep up with stuff from a couple months ago, and so they'll be slowly getting graded here by the end of the semester. All right, good luck on all that.